The train was due to leave in 9 minutes, and Daniel had lost the platform. He stood beneath the departure board with one hand on the handle of his small navy suitcase and the other gripping a paper coffee cup gone soft at the rim. Around him, the station moved with the blunt confidence of people who had allowed enough time. Coats brushed his arm. A child cried over a dropped pastry. Somewhere above the high glass roof, pigeons worried at the metal beams, invisible except for the dry flutter of wings. Paris, 10:42. Platform 7. It had not been there a moment ago, or he had not seen it. Both were possible. Daniel adjusted the strap of his satchel against his shoulder and began walking too fast. The wheels of his suitcase clicked over the tiled floor, then stuttered when one caught in a crack. He muttered an apology to no one and dragged it free. His coffee sloshed over the plastic lid and burned the side of his thumb. "Perfect," he said under his breath. He had wanted the journey to be clean. That was the word he had used in his head when he booked the ticket at 1 a.m, sitting at his kitchen table in Bristol, while rain ticked at the dark window and his phone lay face down beside an unopened message from his manager. Clean meant one suitcase. Clean meant no laptop, though he had packed it anyway, because people like him did not know how to leave things behind without proof of injury. Clean meant 4 days in Paris in a rented room above a bakery. No plans, except walking, until his body became tired enough to stop arguing with him. He had told his sister Emily that he needed a reset. She had laughed once, not unkindly. People say reset when they mean breakdown, but don't want anyone to bring soup. "I'm not having a breakdown." "No, of course. You're taking annual leave with symptoms." That had been 3 days ago. Since then he had avoided her calls, answered 2 work emails he had sworn he would ignore, and slept badly. He was 36 years old and carrying the embarrassing knowledge that he did not know what he liked when no one was asking him to be useful. Platform 7 was already crowded. A line had formed near carriage C, where a young attendant scanned tickets with an expression of professional mercy. Daniel joined the back of it and checked his phone. The Airbnb host had sent instructions in brisk English. "Check in from 4 p.m. Keys and lockbox beside green door. Please do not disturb downstairs neighbor. Hot water switches in hallway. Enjoy Paris." Below that, a message from Emily waited. "Send proof of life when you get there. Also eat something green. Croissants don't count. I know you." He almost smiled, then lost it when his ticket would not load. "No," he whispered. The screen showed a spinning circle, pale and smug. Lifted the phone toward the roof, as if the signal were hiding there, and felt heat gather at the back of his neck. People moved around him. The attendant glanced once in his direction, already tired of him. Daniel found the email, opened the attachment, and the screen went white. "Come on." Behind him, someone said, "Is it the Paris train?" He turned too sharply. The woman was standing a few feet away, with a canvas tote slipping down her shoulder, and a burgundy scarf looped untidily around her neck. Her hair was dark blonde or light brown, one of those colors that changed its mind in station light, and it had come loose from a clip at the nape of her neck. She had a suitcase too, larger than his, pale green, with a sticker of a lemon near the handle. Her face was flushed from hurry, but her eyes were bright, taking in his phone, the queue, the attendant, him. "Yes," Daniel said. I think so. Platform 7. Good, I followed a man with a beret for 3 minutes, and then realized he worked at the sandwich place." Despite himself, Daniel looked past her toward the concourse, as if the beret might still be visible. She smiled. "Not my finest work." The line moved. Daniel looked back down at his phone, still white. "Ticket trouble?" she asked. "It's loading." "Ah, the prayer of modern travel." He gave a short laugh, more breath than sound. "Something like that." She shifted her tote higher. "If it helps, mine did that in Brussels last month, and the man at the gate looked at me like I'd personally betrayed Europe." "That's comforting." It loaded eventually, after I apologized to it. Daniel pressed the side button, locked the screen, opened it again. The ticket appeared at last, square code and all, sudden as a reprieve. "There," he said, unable to keep the relief out of his voice. "See, it only wanted attention." They joined the line together by accident, or by the mild social force that made separating feel dramatic. Daniel let her go ahead, but she waved him forward. "You were here first." "Barely. Still counts." He stepped to the attendant, presented the code, and was allowed through. The ordinary click of acceptance loosened something in his shoulders. He moved along the platform beside the train, its windows dark and reflective, its silver body humming faintly. Carriage C, seat 42A, window. He had chosen it deliberately. A wall on one side, glass on the other. No need to perform sociability, unless the person beside him insisted, and even then he could give short answers until they stopped. Inside, the carriage smelled of warm metal, coffee, damp wool, and the lemony cleaning fluid used on public surfaces to suggest control. People lifted bags, negotiated armrests, turned sideways in the aisle. Daniel found row 42 and stopped. A rucksack sat on his seat, not beside it, on it, a black hiking rucksack bulging at the seams, with 2 socks clipped to the outside like defeated flags. In the aisle seat, a man in a gray hoodie slept with his headphones on and his hood pulled over his eyes. Daniel stared at the rucksack. His ticket, now perfectly functional, said 42A. He looked at the sleeping man. "Excuse me," Daniel said. No movement. He tried again, louder. "Excuse me." The man shifted, made a sound, and turned his face toward the window, claiming deeper sleep my force. Daniel hated this kind of conflict. Not because he feared the man. The man looked 22 and mostly made of elbows. He hated the small public theater of asking for what was already his, while other people listened. He could stand in a meeting with 6 senior directors and calmly explain why their timeline was impossible, but in a train aisle, with a stranger's sock brushing his coat, he felt himself become ridiculous. Someone behind him sighed. Daniel reached toward the rucksack, then stopped. Touching a stranger's luggage felt like crossing a border. "Is everything all right?" the woman from the platform asked behind him. He turned. She had boarded after him, cheeks still pink, tote now wedged under one arm. "My seat is occupied," he said, too formal. She looked at the rucksack, then at the sleeping man. "Buy a bag." "Yes, that's bold. I'm considering negotiating with it." Her mouth twitched. Then she leaned slightly toward the sleeping man, not touching him. "Hi, sorry, is this yours?" "Nothing." She raised her voice by a fraction. "Hello? Your bag is sitting in this gentleman's seat." The word gentleman landed on Daniel with unexpected awkwardness. The man dragged one side of his headphones off. "What?" "Your bag," she said, pleasant but clear. "It needs to move." He blinked at them. "There's no space overhead." "Then put it by your feet." "No room." Daniel felt the passengers behind them gather into a single irritated animal. "I can stand for a bit," he heard himself say. The woman looked at him, surprised, not impressed, worse, disappointed on his behalf. "No," she said. The young man frowned. "What?" "No," she repeated, still calm. "He has a ticket for that seat. Move the bag." The young man's face tightened. He pulled the rucksack onto his lap with theatrical suffering, knocking one sock loose. It fell onto Daniel's shoe. No one spoke for 1 second. The woman bent, picked up the sock between 2 fingers, and placed it on top of the rucksack. "I think this is traveling with you," she said. A laugh ran through the nearby seats, small but unmistakable. The young man shoved the sock into a side pocket and looked away. Daniel slid into 42A with his face hot. "Thank you," he said quietly. The woman glanced at her ticket. Then she looked up at the number above the aisle. Daniel saw it at the same time. 42B. She gave a tiny, helpless shrug. "Apparently I'm here." The young man in 42C groaned under the rucksack, as if fate had been cruel to him personally. The woman lifted her suitcase with effort. Daniel stood at once. "Let me. I can do it. I'm sure, but I'm already embarrassed, so I may as well be useful." She sat down beside him, not too close, close enough that he noticed the clean smell of her hair, rain, and some kind of orange soap.